briefly, because I think a lot of the points have been made. I think we have to look at this amendment in the context of the discussions and the very thorough body of work that was done by the Justice Committee last year in terms of looking at the drugs issue. And you see, I don't think it's ever acceptable to say, well, sure, this is only now. We'll come back and we'll look at the bigger picture and we'll change our approach in the future. I think everybody has improved their understanding dramatically on this issue. And I mean, the committee last year, let's look at what they said. They strongly recommended the introduction of what they called a harm reduction and rehabilitative approach, and that the possession of small amounts of illegal drugs should be dealt with by a civil and administrative approach rather than a criminal justice one. Now, that was a cross-party view, cross-committee view actually, based on substantial body of work undertaken by the deputies, many of whom made, if you like, a personal journey in terms of their understanding on this issue as part of that. So we have to ask, why do we have committees if we're going to go and recommend what is in essence the opposite of what they're saying? I mean, our amendment is completely in keeping with what I've just mentioned, which was their analysis. And, I think we have to, if we're saying that it's a health issue and it needs to be dealt with in that way, then we have to look at it like that, because of the dislocating impact on people who become the victims of a criminal justice approach. We know, and I've had people, even recently, people who are in our prisons already who have desperately sought to have treatment made available to them, and they do not have the resources there to access that. And, I appreciate what Deputy Chambers says, it's only the dealers, but I mean, we're dealing with then a matter of, Garda discretion against the backdrop of a lot of problems inside the functioning of An Garda Síochána. I would put it as well that the Gardaí already have powers of arrest for possession of other unlawful substances, and it's not just the dealers who get targeted in this situation. So for us to believe that that will be the case in this is not necessarily the case, although I understand the very specific circumstances in the inner city areas that have led the government to introduce this piece of legislation. I know it is supported by many in the communities on that regard, but I still would consider it a knee-jerk response for the best of intentions, probably. But unfortunately, when we do this, it can have the most far-reaching unintended consequences, and therefore our amendment is being put in to cut across that and to make sure that that wouldn't happen, that people who none of us want to victimise would become victimised. So I really don't understand, and would hope that the Minister would actually accept the amendment in the spirit in which it's put forward.